Welcome in, everyone, to ProBox TV's Who the Man? It's a simple concept. Who's at the top of one of the hottest weight classes in boxing? Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. Don't worry about it. Paulie Malignaggi is not a sensitive guy. Say whatever you want about him. We do listen. We do talk about it. So, our comments today are about the 154-pound division. For understandable reasons, it is right now red hot. I have Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, Showtime Shawn Porter joining us via Zoom. Look, it's a very simple concept. To be the man, just like Shawn, you got to beat the man, right? We could all do the Ric Flair strut right here. It's all about the champs, right? That's number one. Whoever has the most belts. Right now, that is Sebastian Fundora. He has 2 of the titles. Paulie, that's the end of it, right? He's got the most titles. He's number 1 right now. It's not the way it works with fans, is it?
154 pounds is one of those complicated weight classes where boxing math never really works out anyway. But this one could be real complicated. There's an influx of some good fighters at 154 pounds. The 154-pound division already had a few other good fighters there, and then of course the big elephant in the room, Crawford. He's starting to throw his hat in the mix, and now he's going to be fighting at 154 pounds. So there's a lot of different elements here that you can bring up, and that's why we have the Who's the Man topic today.
We do, but Chris, Fundora, overlooked despite the 2 belts, funky build, really tall, very rangy. But before the Tszyu fight, short notice, a lot of people, he just wasn't on a lot of people's radar. Is that fair to say? Champion kind of came out of nowhere, unless you're hardcore.
Well, listen, I mean, there was a lot of eyes on Fundora prior to his knockout loss to Mendoza. Right. A fight that he was supposed to win, a fight that he was winning. He goes out there, a lot of eyes. Like you said, he's got that freakish build. I mean, he can fight, he can punch, he's a knockout puncher. He meets Brian Mendoza and gets iced. And people kind of put him on the back burner at that point. Takes his fight on short notice against Tszyu, who's streaking, coming to USA. He's doing the USA tour. And he goes out there. I mean, it's the bloodiest fight I've ever seen. It's one of the bloodiest fights in boxing history. Comes out victorious, becomes champion. Two belt holder champion now. Things are very interesting. I mean, Fundora has always been that guy who people saw as going to be one of these guys. And he's here now. I mean, unconventional route, but he's here, and he's still a major player in this very exciting weight class, which, for a long time really wasn't. So.
All right, Showtime, when you look at the champ, when you look at Fundora, WBO, WBC champion, you have Madripoff in the rings as WBA champion, but not as experienced. When you look at the champs that are available right now in the weight class, what do you think of Fundora's ability to stay on top?
I've always felt like Fundora is limited. He showed me the complete opposite in his fight against Tszyu. The thing I felt like he's needed the entirety of his career is a good, strong jab. He's finally able to display that against Tszyu, and I think that him winning that fight all revolved around him using a jab opposed to the style that we've all grown accustomed to, him being up on guys, trying to break them down and take them out in later rounds. We saw a jab. That lets me know that he's not as limited as I thought he was. Nonetheless, that build, I still believe, can bring some challenges to him because you got other guys in that division that can move their feet. Tszyu's can't move his feet, but you got a guy like Marjanov right there holding the WBA, excuse me, yeah. He can move his feet. He knows how to get to his opponents, and he knows how to beat on them and break them down. So I still think that there's some obstacles for Fundora at 154. However, to see him grow, be able to use a jab and use other things outside of just that come forward, break them down kind of style, lets me know that he does have a promising career future at 154.
Now, it's a question for you, Paulie. We were talking about this a couple of days ago. Jamel Charlo has been inactive for coming up on a year. Of course, since losing to Canelo. You said, man, he just sleptwalked through that fight. Didn't do anything. What about that concept of, hey, moving up, you have nothing to lose? A bad performance is a bad performance, and it can set you behind in your weight class, even if you're moving up. What are your thoughts on that? You've talked about it.
Well, his psychological approach to that fight was coming to pick up a check and I don't really care. So, it's hard to kind of come back from that branding-wise, image-wise, if that's what people kind of remember you for. It also will put into question how hungry you are going forward. Obviously Charlo was one of the hungrier superstar-type skilled fighters at one point in his career. But if he was already kind of not hungry, showing he was not hungry in the Canelo fight, and then he picked up 10, 15, I don't know how much he picked up in the millions.
Retirement
in the Canelo
millions,
fight.
right.
I mean, that's only going to make him less hungry, you know? And so I don't really know how much of a player he's going to be in the 154-pound division, but there are plenty of players in this weight class, and there's a lot that can be debated.
Now, Chris, that's the question. We're getting to the challengers in a minute, but right now when discussing the champions, don't the champions seem a little hungrier? It's almost like the champions are the ones looking for respect in a division where the superstars are kind of the challengers. Is that fair, Chris?
Well, they're the guys who are getting less views, less eyes. You know, Madrimov is a very talented fighter, very talented champion, and he's a guy, he can give every one of these guys trouble. But we don't really know him. The audience,
he's the guy fighting Crawford in August, right?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I mean, listen, he's been on my radar for a couple
Even
years.
though he's the champion, right?
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
even though he's a champion. That's what we're talking
Listen,
about.
that's going to happen no matter who you are. Unless you're Canelo, you're always going to be the guy fighting Crawford. He's the best fighter in the world. But with Madrimov, he's been on my radar for a couple years. He's very talented. He is physically strong. He's got a great amateur background. He's very, very athletic. Shawn, you mentioned his feet. Super athletic guy, can move around that ring really, really well. And, with the size and the strength that he has, he can give everyone, potentially even Crawford, some trouble. So you got to put some respect to Madrimov's name. The weight class is fleshing out. And there are other superstars, guys like Virgil Ortiz, guys like Tszyu, who aren't champions, but are way more well-known than guys like Fundora or Madrimov. So it's become a very layered and complex division.
Showtime, what's your thought on that? The champions kind of looking for respect, which usually comes with the title, but they're not getting it. The challengers are getting all the press. What's your thought on that?
You know, it kind of is what it is. You got two guys who I have not been as, I guess for the sake of words, promotable or just have not been able to acquire the shine that comes with the glory of being a world champion. And, my thing is, now you just have to show up and show out. That's exactly what Fundora did against Tszyu. Now you got to have another performance just like that. I think that is the performance that has really coined Fundora now to become somewhat of a household name. Prior to that, he was just the big kid at 154. Now I think he's a force to be reckoned with because of not only how he fought, but what he had to fight through. The cuts, the bruises, all that kind of stuff, the bloody nose coming out of both nostrils, all that kind of stuff. Those are the things that people look to see that make them feel like, I can get behind this guy. He really fought through something, So I think for the first time we got to see Fundora truly fight through something. Of course, he went through some things against Erickson Lubin, but this now was again another chance for people to see him going through the fire. I don't know what it is about boxing, but people like to see you go through the fire. They don't want to give you respect until you've gone through the fire. So I think now Fundora has respect, but when you got guys like Terence Crawford coming into the mix, it's like, who's Fundora?
Exactly, Showtime, and that's exactly what we're about to talk about. You talk about the Rocky moment from Fundora, a guy who hasn't had Rocky moments because he's so good. Terence Crawford in the mix. We'll discuss him when we come back.
What's up, Turkey? Hey, sorry I couldn't make it out there. As you see, I'm working hard for August 3rd. I hope the show go well. I see you in LA.
Welcome back to Huda Man. How are you doing well in life when you refer to His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh as, what's up, Turkey? And you know it's okay. Everything's going to be all right. That is Terence Bud Crawford, of course, fighting on Turki Al-Sheikh's card in August. The GOAT right now, right? The #1 pound-for-pound fighter to a lot of people. We can sit here and have that debate. Maybe we'll do it on another show. But right now, he's boxing at his absolute best, but coming up to 154 pounds. Gentlemen, it's the GOAT effect. Whenever somebody like Terence Crawford moves into a weight class, he becomes the talking point of that weight class. What are your expectations? You guys are X's and O's guys. He is getting a little bit older. What are your expectations about his run at 154?
I think when it comes to Crawford, we've seen that until you see the slippage, you can't just predict the slippage. I remember I had Crawford as my #1 pound for pound even a couple of years ago before the Spence fight, and I was getting a lot of blowback because he hasn't fought a lot of guys at welterweight, and he's his resume isn't Spence's resume. It's not he doesn't fight often enough, and then the Spence fight sort of solidified him, right? But now you're going into 154-pound division. You're 37 years old. There's a couple of question marks you got to bring up, but in a topic of who's the man, like you said, he moves the odometer, so to speak. Like his name automatically, because he is that good and he has been that good. Now you're wondering, what can be accomplished by this guy? How, where is the limit? Is the limit himself? Is it his aging process? Is it the weight class that he's up too many weight classes? You don't know. But you can only ask yourself, is there a limit and what is the limit? Because he's still yet to show, that rocky moment because he's been so good.
But that's the thing, Chris. I mean, your thing is physiology, your thing is nutrition, your thing is training. You're kind of the scientist among us. I have to ask you, moving up to 154 pounds, speed a little bit slower, right? Is it even better, though, as he gets older to maybe move up to guys who are a little bit slower, maybe harder punchers, but he's so technical, he's hard to hit. How do you put it all together?
All right, as the resident science nerd, I'm going to put it this way.
Dork, go ahead.
Terence Crawford.
As we knock the books out of his hand, go ahead,
Terence
Chris.
Crawford is an alien. This guy is special. I don't think he goes by any of the normal rules of nature. This guy, he's getting bigger, stronger, faster, better, everything. And he's 35 years old. Exactly like you said, Champ. Until we see some kind of slippage, which we have not, he's getting better. He's getting stronger. He knocked out everybody at welterweight. Every fight in welterweight, he scored knockouts. That's crazy.
And yet we're still going to ask because, again, the human element of things, you're 36, 37, is he 35?
35.
He's 35.
Well, no, I think he'll be 36 by the time he fights.
So
But
30, and you keep going up weight classes. These are things that you're asking now. Okay. Is it too many weight classes?
Is this the weight class where he looks
human? Is he fighting a little older now?
Right.
Is age going to catch up?
But listen,
he looked
better.
so good, but what do you?
He always looked better. He looked better at 47 than he did at 40 and 35. Yeah. And now, so is this when he says take a step back? How far does a step back does he go?
Shawn,
does he go down to as good as he was at 140? I think he's actually going to be better at 54.
You were a great 47, Shawn. What's your thoughts on him moving up and his capacity to look even better than he's looked?
Yeah, listen, I know him on a personal level.
Yeah.
While you refer to him as an alien, I respect that. He is an alien. While you say he moves the odometer, I wasn't on the camera, so you couldn't see me, Paulie, but I was saluting you. He moves the odometer. This man has really personified what it means to be a professional boxer. He takes care of his body. He trains all the time. He does not overtrain. Like, this kid just has figured it all out. He eats correctly. I've had him come to my house when I know he ain't got nothing going on. I know he's not in camp, and the kid is still rocked up. He just is who he is. On top of all that, the thing that got him here is the thing that's going to keep him here. The hunger. The people telling him that he can't move up to 154. Stop doing that. The people that keep questioning if he can do this, stop doing that. The only thing you're doing is you're feeding the beast.
Well, that's the thing.
I say keep doing it because it's making great performances so far.
There's also a different element to it that guys that are such competitors like that don't see. And for me, myself, I see it like sometimes. You start to, you start to almost look up to these kind of athletes like, wow, man, that's really something special. You don't want to see them get hurt. You don't want to see them hang around too long. You don't want to see them bite off more than they can chew, because we all have our limitations, right? And they love to prove guys wrong, obviously, because that's what makes them so great. But you also start to risk, you don't want to see a guy get hurt, because you've learned to respect it so much. You've learned to love it so much that you're like, man, it would make you sad to see that,
Showtime, what's your thought on that?
Paulie? He keeps young kids around him. They keep him moving. They keep him youthful. He's always trying to prove things to them, show things to them, be his best. He's got nothing but young kids in the ring, in the gym, that are gonna push him to be great day in and day out. He's training with Shakur Stevenson. He's training with the kid Davis from out there in Virginia. He keeps young kids around him. They're going to keep him youthful, and not only that, they're going to keep him inspired to keep inspiring them. You know what I mean? So it's like I said before, he literally just has every box checked off, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Shawn, so the devil's in the details, man. I put it simply, he's an alien. No, he does everything right, just like you said. He lives the lifestyle, he trains year-round, he stays in shape, he doesn't overtrain, he keeps young guys around him, he's hungry, he's competitive, he likes being the underdog, he likes all those things. All those things put together is the formula that makes what a Terence Crawford is, which is something we've never seen. That's why I call him an alien.
Well, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, the rest of the aliens, that's right, the challengers, do they have what it takes to be the next generation at 154 pounds? We'll tackle it when we come back. Welcome back to ProBox TV. Who the man? That's what we're discussing at 154 pounds. We've already discussed the champions. They are great. They are outstanding. They are not the big names in the division, all right? You have Terence Bud Crawford coming up to 154 pounds. You also have, let me list them, Tszyu, Virgil Ortiz, and we got to say it, Ryan Garcia at 154 pounds? Maybe. Is it a possibility? This guy who barely missed the weight class at 140 pounds. Before we tackle any of those possible contenders, Ryan Garcia at 54, do you see it at all? Is he just talking? Is it possible?
I don't know, bro. I mean, he was a lightweight a year ago. If I see him at a 154 and I see him destructive at 154, I mean, I don't know about you
Young
guys.
kid, maybe he's grown.
I don't know. No, I don't know about you guys at home. I know the superheroes and superpowers don't exist. You know, it's gonna confirm the PED stuff with me, honestly.
Right.
Like,
So when you
that's a bit much.
So when you look at the contenders
Like,
already,
and it's like the elephant in the room that nobody wants to speak about. You know,
Right.
But I mean, some things you gotta eventually start to speak about.
Right. But this idea of looking at the contenders, if you look at Tszyu, Virgil, Ortiz, what are your thoughts on who can make the biggest impact at 54, maybe become a champion?
I feel like Crawford is the man until somebody undoes him, even without the belt. He's sort of superseded the belt. But as far as guys with the upwards potential, the star potential, the conquering potential, I can't believe they're fighting each other. For me, it's Tszyu and Virgil Ortiz. Right. For me, it's Tszyu and Virgil Ortiz. I respect Fundora. I think he's a fun fighter to watch. I don't think Fundora can be in a bad fight, which is always, you know, something great, a great quality about a fighter, because it allows him to make money, be fun to watch, and he can even beat some of the upper level of the sport. But I don't buy what the champ Shawn was saying about we finally saw a jab out of Fundora. We saw a jab out of Fundora the first 2 rounds, and he still got his butt whooped in the first 2 rounds of the Tszyu fight. So even just because you were showing a jab doesn't mean you know how to use the jab. That jab started landing consistently when Tszyu couldn't see. Once that elbow landed, and Tszyu couldn't see because of the cut on his head, because of an elbow, not because of a punch. So that jab was being attempted in the first 2 rounds, but it wasn't differentiated enough, and he got his nose busted. He got beat up in the first 2 rounds. So I can't really buy what the champ was selling there yet about Fundora. But I do think he's always going to be a fun fighter and a consistent fighter. But I'm not sure if he would beat Tszyu in a rematch or if he would beat Virgil Ortiz. But I'd love to see it because, again, Fundora is super entertaining, and he's of the level. It's not like, oh, he's entertaining, but he doesn't belong at this level. He's of the level. But for me, the future of the 154-pound division rests in the winner of Ortiz versus Tszyu.
Is there anything, Chris,
Hey,
either
hey,
fight?
Samson. Hey, Paulie, I was thinking
Showtime,
of Samson, man. I was thinking of Samson. I had to show some love.
Samson was mad at me for my breakdown of Fundora, but, you know.
Try to show some love.
Well, Chris, when you look at this idea of Ortiz versus Tszyu, as Paulie said, might be the man, is there anything to convince you in that fight, any result that may go, maybe Crawford would have trouble with this guy? Is it about necessarily not just winning, but having an audition for maybe the GOAT in this division right now?
It's going to depend what version of Crawford we get at 54. If he's what we've all been talking about, that he was struggling to make 47. I was there fight week for the Spence fight. He was cutting weight pretty hard. I think he's going to feel stronger at 54. Now, how is he going to deal with these bigger guys? That's yet to be seen. We have yet to see him at 154, so that's going to matter. And that's the case. Then you start thinking like, all right, well, these young big guys, the Virgil Ortizes, the Tszyu. But honestly, if we listen to our friend Turki Al-Sheikh, Crawford's not long for 154. He's pushing fights in higher weight classes, and Crawford's the kind of guy, yes, he has that pushes the odometer, right? He pushes the needle, just like you guys are saying. When he comes into a weight class, he's got that goatness about him that's going to bring, but also he's got that goatness where he can transcend all these weight classes. He doesn't need these titles anymore. He can look for super fights. He can jump 2 weight classes. He can go fight, he can go fight 160 next, then go fight 68. He can do whatever he wants at this point of his career, as he should. He's earned it. So I don't think he's long for this weight class. So I think really when we're looking at the future of 154, it's going to be the winner of Tszyu and Virgil Ortiz. I think those are the 2 most talented guys.
Showtime, what are you expecting from that fight tactically, right? We know Tszyu coming off the loss in a great fight against Fundora. Ortiz looking phenomenal his last time out. X's and O's, what are you expecting at his fight that, as the champs say, might define the 154-pound division?
No, but when I think about Virgil Ortiz, the first thing that he punches with a lot of power in both hands. I feel like that really does slow down his delivery because he's trying to make such an impact with both hands. And so I really think this could become power versus the boxing ability that Tszyu actually does have. I know that he wasn't coined as being a boxer, more of a pressure fighter with tactical and strategical pressure, not really all up on you, and head body punching nonstop, but more of a strategical, let me step to you and find the right punches. I think this could actually become more of the opposite for Tszyu, where he's playing this one more on the outside, trying to beat Virgil Ortiz to the punch and then get in and get out. Virgil, we know how he's coming. He's going to be coming with a lot of power in both hands, trying to break down Tszyu. I agree with both Paulie and Chris. This is definitely the future of 154. If Terence has more than 2 or 3 more fights this year, or excuse me, at all in his career, I don't think they all happen at 154. So that fight right there is the future of the 154 division.
Well, we love making emphatic statements here at ProBox TV. When we come back, we're going to make it who is the man at 154 pounds. One name apiece when we come back. Welcome back to ProBox TV's Who the Man? It's very simple. We're discussing the junior middleweight division, 154 pounds. It used to be a little tiny stop between welterweight and middleweight. Now it is the hottest division in professional boxing to a lot of observers. So we've gone over the names. We're talking about who's coming up next. But who is the man by the end of the year? That is my question. Paul, you got to pick one name. Who is the guy at 154 pounds for the end of 2024? Who is it?
I think Crawford is going to remain at 154 by the end of the year, because I don't think if they make this Canelo fight, it'll be in the new year. So I'm going to say Crawford. Once he leaves, I'm going to say Fundora, because he is the rightful owner of 2 belts. But the true threat and the guy who's going to become the man in 2025 at 154 pounds is the winner of Virgil, Ortiz, and Tszyu. That's my timeline. So right now I'm going to say Crawford, though.
Chris, I'm going to ask you the same question, and a quick thing. Is Madrimov the fight that's going to tell us where Crawford is? He's relatively inexperienced. Is he the guy that will bring out the best in Crawford?
First question is Crawford.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of qualifiers there, champ. So
I had some.
a lot of qualifiers there. I'm gonna skip over Crawford. He's GOAT status. Listen, whatever weight class he's in, he's the man. So that takes away all the other options. For me, it's Virgil Ortiz. I think he's the man at 154. I think he's going to be the toughest guy to beat. I'm very curious to see how this fight goes with Tszyu. And it's not. I'm not saying 100%. Oh, that's an Ortiz fight. It's a really, really good fight. But that's the kind of fight that I believe Ortiz can win. And with a win there, he's going to learn a lot. And he's going to take a lot from that fight. And he's super young. He's one of the younger guys in the division. I think that he is the future.
Showtime. Who is the man at the end of the year when I talk 154 pounds? Who are you betting on?
Yeah, I want to go back to the question that Chris did answer. I think that Madrimov is going to present some issues to Terence Crawford. He is who he is as well. He's a pressure fighter, uses his feet well, but he's durable. He's going to take a lot of what Terence Crawford has to offer. And it's like I always like to say, that 154 punch is different than a 47 punch.
Yep.
It's clearly different than a 147 or excuse me, a 140 punch. It's closer to a 160 punch. And so in that respect, I do believe Terence Crawford wins that fight, but we'll see where he's at, how durable his body is to 154 pounder, because Madrimov ain't going away off one punch, and he will be there round after round fighting Terence Crawford the way I think people expected a lot of people to fight or wanted to see a lot of people fight Terence Crawford. At the end of the day, I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to say Tszyu is the guy at 154. I think that he's got some things.
I knew you would, Shawn. I knew it.
I can't pick a winner there, so I'm glad when these guys are split, because I didn't pick a winner. I just said the winner of that fight.
You're the neutral guy. We got
no, they're really difficult.
Perfect.
So I'm glad you guys split on that, because I'm still
see the
confused.
balance we got.
What we love about boxing is there's a fight that will decide who is the king at the moment at 154 pounds. Whatever you do, like, subscribe, comment, let everybody know what you think about our man, Paulie Malignaggi. Don't worry, he's not sensitive. And we'll see you next time on ProBox TV. Keep tuning in.